Yeah, we're live now.
Good evening and welcome to Impact 45 on this glorious day, 25th of the month of May year 2025. And we have with us Ifedayo Oluwole on Impact 45 this evening. Ifedayo, you are welcome to Impact 45.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Pastor. It is a real opportunity to speak on a platform like this. Thank you very much.
Today we'll be talking about the youth and drug addiction and the way out. The youth and drug addiction and the way out. Let me briefly introduce Ifedayo Oluwole to us. Ifedayo Oluwole is a treatment officer at Compassionate Care Recovery Initiative, an organization that helps to rehabilitate people living substance abuse and addiction. He has been working with this organization close to 4 years now, working with people living with addiction. He has a story on multiple addiction recovery. Ifedayo, once again, welcome to Impact 45.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let me ask you, how bad is drug addiction among the Nigerian youth? How bad it is?
When it comes to a topic like this, when we talk about how bad it is, it looks as if we are scaring people. Now, let me just give you a brief start to this. The last stats that we have that is valid was done in 2016. Now, that stat was done by the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime, and it says that as of 2016, there are 14.3 million Nigerians using drugs. That number is between the age of 15 and 64 alone. Now, if you look at that age, that's like the productive age and years of the country. So we are looking at 14.3 million people as of 2016. Now, if you look at that is the population of around some 3 or 4 countries in some part of Africa and more than 5 countries in some parts of East Europe. So the numbers are scary down. We're looking at, by our own statistic of what we see today, we are double this number as of now.
And I'm sure that's not because a lot of people are into drug addiction that even in the remote villages that cannot be recognized. What has been your experiences so far? What has been your experiences so far on treatment for the drug addict? What has been your experience so far?
It has been an eye opener for me working in this space because I've been an addict before myself and coming through the process. Now working with people, it is different. I used to think my experience, but the more we meet people, the more you talk to these people, you discover that there is work to be done, especially in this generation that is coming up. There are issues. Let me tell you something, sir. Back in the days, there's in the 1980s to 1990s, Nigeria was categorized by the United Nations as a transition country for drug, which means that back then people moved up from like the Caribbean countries to Nigeria so that they can move into other countries. That people don't really take drugs in Nigeria. But the reality is that these days Nigeria is a consuming country for drugs, and not just that, Nigeria is now producing some of the drugs that are used by our youth. Now, one of the problems we had that back in the days, you look at maybe up until 5 years ago, before you want to take drugs, you have to go to the drug joints, you have to go to the bus stop, you have to go to some areas to buy drugs. These days, these drugs are delivered by dispatch riders to our homes. They are well packaged. They are other. Imagine these days we heard of things called vapes, electronic cigarettes that people just take in the open, and they are not sure. There are many issues that we need to deal with as a society.
Thank you, Ifedayo. During our own days, I think some of the drugs we got to know are cannabis and marijuana. But I know now from what I'm hearing, there are so many sophisticated drugs now that come in pills and tablets that you cannot even recognize is a drug if you are not told. What's your experience on this?
Now, even let me start from where you said it's God taking your generation are cannabis and marijuana. Do you know that cannabis and marijuana have been synthetically reproduced in many forms? They have been synthetically reproduced. That's why you now have what is called SK skunk. You now have Canadian loud, Scottish loud. You now have different. You now have Colorado, Arizona. They are made out of marijuana. Those are so that the smell is better, the taste is better, all those kind of things. Even in some countries, they now have flavors. They now have
So you
strawberry
mean all
flavor,
these things are originally refined from marijuana?
marijuana. Yes, they are called synthetic
They are the opposite of
marijuana.
marijuana.
Yes, they are synthetic marijuana. They
Oh,
were marijuana that have been taken to the lab just to work on them to make it taste better.
the
Different
working
chemical
on them,
combinations.
sorry, the working on them is it by chemicals or by other substances?
Chemical.
Wow.
Now, let me now go to
So
the
that
next
is
part.
to say it has more negative effect on the body.
That's I'm still going to get to that point eventually. I want to go to the next part where you mentioned the part of other drugs that have been taken.
Okay, you can continue,
From
please.
now, from like 10 years ago, people got introduced to new type of drug, especially within secondary school and private university students. You heard of over-the-counter drugs that people now take as addiction. Started with just it used to just be codeine, which is a form of cough syrup back then, but it became abused in excess by Nigerian youth. Then we had tramadol, this Refnol, and these drugs are easily accessed around, even in pharmacies and chemists, like we will call it. Even though NAFDAC has done so much to try and ban some of these drugs and reduce the grams. Now, you're not supposed to see tramadol of more than 50 grams in the market, but people are still importing them illegally and selling them for people that want to get high. Now, there are also other drugs that people take. There's one that is common, especially it is not in Lagos, but it's more common in the eastern part of the country and the south side part of the country. It is called Nkumiri, crystal melt.
I can't hear that. What's the name again?
Nkumiri. It's called
Kukumiri.
Nkumiri, crystal melt.
Okay, crystal melt.
Crystal melt. So crystal melt is
how does it look like? Have you seen it before?
Yes, it is whitish.
How does it look like?
It looks like a crystal, like white crystal. Like I don't know if you have seen what we call crack before, crack cocaine, like cooked cocaine that has been baked. So it looks just like a crystal. I know alum.
Okay, alum.
Yeah, something. It's not the same, but something like that. It's like this. So it is.
Is it a natural resource?
It's not a natural resource. It is prepared in the lab
for
the purpose of consumption of people down to get high. So those are the different type of drugs. I can continue to go on. There are many more in the house. Take for example, there's something called you might have heard of shisha. That is now people now taking parties and clubs these days, and those are some of the things that people get high on. Yeah, of vapes, electronic cigarettes, and they are so common. I was passing by within my estate and I saw a shop. Well, if you look at the shop, look at what are they selling here. When I looked in, I saw they were selling different type of smoke, well organized, and they were just there. So today, drug is easily accessible for anybody that wants to take it. The only thing is we need to, as much as possible, give orientation to our young ones, to the coming generation, on reason why they should not take drugs.
Let me ask you, what do you think the youth and the teens, why do you think they take drugs? What do you think, what's the reason behind them taking drugs? You be an ex-addict yourself.
Yeah. So there are multiple reasons. And being an ex-addict and working with people, by the grace of God, my facility just graduated a couple of weeks back, set of people that we have treated for 4 months. And working with these people over time, you discover that reasons for people getting into addiction varies from each other. One of the common ones in our society these days is peer pressure. From time, even before we were born in your generation, when people start growing up, they say, don't join bad gang, know the home you are from. Because people are easily influenced by other people. Because once you see that somebody is doing something and quote and unquote feels good, you also want to be a part of it. So most times it is peer pressure. I remember about 2 years ago, I had reason to be in Abuja to talk on this topic in a church, and the church brought in secondary students from their school, students from their own school for the program. And when the program was on, it was time to ask questions. Some of these students wrote questions in paper, and they passed it along to me. And most of the paper I read was that my roommate comes to the hostel with drugs, and she always tells me it feels good. Should I take it? Secondary school students. And this peer pressure is a major factor, and that is why we need to train up our children, our kids, from when they are toddlers to have confidence, to have a stand, to stand for what they know, and they are not easily carried away. Let them have a voice. Because people tend to look at how this child, they have everything at home. No, there are some children who in the house they can't speak up because their parents will shout on them. They don't have the opportunity to say their mind in the house. They can't even tell their parents how they feel. And this child continues to grow until he finds themselves in the midst of some friends who allow them talk, who allow them express themselves. And these friends influence them because they feel, I'm welcome there, I am accepted in this group. So why not just stay and do what they do? So let your children express themselves in the house. Let them know your children. Let them be free. Teach them how to take a stand. Teach them how to stand for themselves, stand upright, and give opinions in the right way. And this will help reduce the possibility of a child getting into drug addiction. Another popular cause of drug abuse and addiction is depression. The truth is, when people go through things in life, they go through phases of things, because depression go far and far deeper. People say, why will a small boy be depressed? A child that has been abused by the house help, a male child that has been abused by the house help, molested as a 10-year-old, and continually the house help remains in the house and is continually abused, cannot tell anybody about it. The only thing you can do is to smoke, take codeine, take Refnol, because when you take Refnol, you tend to forget whatever it is that is affecting you for a while, to just forget whatever is going on with them. So out of depression, people take drugs as a form of forgetting whatever they are going through at the time. And one of the factors that I have always hammered on for the past 3 years is family. And I mentioned it when I was talking about peer pressure. See, when we were in secondary school, in primary school, they told us that family is the smallest unit of the society. And one of the problems that have escalated so far to our society are issues that are not dealt with in the family. A family where the father and the mother live in the house and don't talk to each other. A family where the father lives somewhere and the mother lives somewhere. A family where a child cannot confidently go to his father for what he's facing in school. For somebody to slap that child in school, and the child cannot get to my third father. And the father will say that, are you not a boy? Can't you fight? Shut up. You don't even listen to that child. You don't let your children speak up. The father and the mother are always fighting. The boy even wants to get home and sit the parent down and talk to them about the girl that the teacher has molested in school. I want to go home and tell the parents. And the parents even shut the child up and say, you are lying. Those children grow up and take solace in drugs because they are not allowed to express themselves in the home. Because if a child needs a place to talk, and it takes back to do your preparation, because when a child is not accepted, given freedom of speech, freedom to talk in the house, it goes to friends. And those friends give, don't worry.
Thank you, Ifedayo, about that. So what you are saying in essence is that the type of family somebody comes from can make you easily accessible to use drug.
Yes.
That your family can influence you.
Yes.
And the family you come out from, the way the family formations are, the husband and the wife and the other sibling can encourage you or discourage you to engage in drug addiction.
Yes.
Is that what you are saying?
Yes. Let me give you a story. I some time ago I worked with a client who had an addiction issue. Now this boy told me his story. Now the parents were very happy. The dad was a disciplinarian. The dad would beat them for anything, anything. And so one of these days is the last child. He was 12 at the time, and their oldest brother, they were three boys. Their oldest brother was about 16 or 17. And the dad at that point, the parents are just driven out of the house to go to work, the dad and the mom. As they drove out, the elder brother started smoking in the house. And that was the first time I ever saw somebody smoke up close and personal. Coincidentally, the parents had to drive back home because one of them forgot something. And as their father entered the house to pick up, he could smell the smoke all over the house. And their father has been known to be this person that will beat you for the slightest mistake. And the father said, I said, you are smoking in this house. Call the mother, you are smoking in this house. And the father didn't beat the boy, did not address the issue, did not do anything, did not call them to call them. And the father just kept quiet to the boy as a 12-year-old. The boy just felt, wow. So there's something I can do in this house that my father will not beat me. And that boy started smoking at the age of 13. The immediate elder brother too started smoking around the same age. And both of them ended up in several rehabs. So
because their father did not rebuke them as at when he saw them doing such thing.
Yeah, the older brother, not them. The older brother was the one that was doing it, not even them. They were young. But they saw that the father did not rebuke the older brother.
I thought you said the younger one joined him.
No, as at that time, it was the older brother that was smoking and the father caught him. And the father did not rebuke him. And they felt, so the father cannot rebuke the older brother for smoking. That means they can also smoke. That means smoke is not a bad thing. And that's how they got him to do it. So some of these issues, if you look at working with people and looking at my personal story over time, for me, the fact was that my dad was never around. My dad, because of the nature of his job, he was always Nasarawa today, he's in Delta State, he's in Yobe. On work, he was an engineer. My mom worked in the Ministry of Education. So she was always out of the house early in the morning, not back till like 6 p.m. And when she's back like this, she goes straight to the kitchen trying to cook for what we're going to eat in the night. I tried to tell mom what I saw in the school, what I felt, how I felt, or what happened to me. My dad would go on the contract and would be back in 3 months, in 2 months, in 8 weeks. And when he comes back, he's very tired. He's probably in the room sleeping for most part of the days. So there was no room for me to communicate, to express how I felt. So sometimes, if you look basically to most of the issues that surround addiction, family is a basic issue.
Wow. That's quite interesting. Taking from your own personal experience now, how were you able to be rescued from drug addiction, Ifedayo? Share your own personal experience with us. How were you rescued?
How I was rescued, I had my first smoking experience in my final year in secondary school. I was in SS3. I was playing games.
How old are you then?
I was 16.
16.
Yes.
You started with smoking of cigarettes?
No, I drank alcohol. Then I smoked. I smoked weed before I smoked cigarettes.
You smoked weed?
Yes, before I smoked cigarettes.
Who introduced you to weed?
Was in school, while we were in secondary school, in SS3, you don't do much class. You are just so we used to have the opportunity to go out. So we used to go to game centers.
Which school is that? Is it in Lagos?
It's in Lagos. It's Lagos Baptist Orile Agege. Lagos Baptist Secondary School Orile Agege.
Is it after school you guys gather to smoke or during the break?
During school hours. So when we were preparing for work, we could
walk out. And the teachers not seeing you?
We're not in school. We leave school. There is a back of the school where it's broken. The fence is broken. So we exit the school to that place. We go to game centers to play PlayStation 2 at the time. It was popular to play 20 now to play for 20 minutes. So I was good at PlayStation 2. So while you are playing, we are all students. So from other school, there's a school called State School Yewole. We are close to each other. We meet at the place, and one of those days, they were just passing that. And the person beside me just passed to me. I was like, since I'm here, let me just take now. So that was how a journey started for me. And that journey was in 2006, and it took me up until 2016. Because I went through that phase, seek admission for a while, then get admission to the university. I was doing well in the university. I was a good boy at home. I was fervent in church. I used to represent my church then in quiz competition, church quiz, church debate. So by the time I got into university, I was still this spiritual person. At the point, by my first year, I was leading a fellowship in school. I was a fellowship pastor. My nickname is today in my university that I went then. People still, if any of them see me today, they still call me pastor. But the funniest thing that while I was in that school and people called me pastor, I would have taken codeine or Refnol in my room before going to church on Sunday. And it went on, and I went from being that good boy, being in my 100 level, I had the best result in my department, the second best result in my faculty. But this thing started going on. I could not focus in school. I could not. So by the end of my third year, I could not go to school again. I had left even fellowship. I was not going to fellowship again. I was not going to anything again. I was just there. They even offered, like, because I was popular in school, the dean of student affairs offered that, okay, with all these issues, because by the end of my third year, I had the worst result in my department. And the dean of student said, no, it is not you. You are good. Okay, my mom had to come to school. They told me that, okay, he could still continue. The only thing that we have to go back to 200 level. I was like, I used to teach these children in tutorials. I will now go and sit there with them to start 200 level again. So because of all the things I was doing at the time, I didn't even go back. So from there, I went. My school was in Ekiti, was in a part of Ekiti. Then I had to stay in Ado, was roaming Ado for a while. Then I ended up in Lagos, continue my lifestyle, smoking, going around, gambling, and doing all sorts. So at the end of the day, my mom, at least my mom family owns a property in Lagos, in one of the best estates in this Lagos. I had a home to stay, but I ended up on the street, and I was sleeping by the railway line in Agege, just on that railway line. That's why I sleep at night in Agege, in Pennsylvania. So one of those
family relatives looking for you.
Yes, they were looking for me. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew. I could not go back home. I was looking like a madman on the street. I would go days without taking a bath or brushing my teeth. So but the funniest thing is that as God will have it, I liked church in a way. I like to go to church. So one of those days, I was on the street. I'm not sure I take my bath in like days before that time. Then there was this church around Agege. I used to pass in front of it. So that day, because I was just not looking good, but I still went to the church. So I stood outside the window of the church and I was following the way. It was praise and worship, and I was following David. Then this woman, she's late now, saw me and she said, come in. I said, I can't come. I said, no, come in. She now gave me a seat. I sat, and after the service, they gave me clothes and everything. That was how they now took me to Kadam, a facility owned by the Redeemed Christian Church of God, where I was rehabilitated for a year. And that's how I started a new journey for myself after I came out in 2017. So the journey for me, that was how it went for me. And by the grace of God, since then, God has been faithful.
Wow. What will be, let me ask you this question before what would be your advice to people who are taking drug addiction, that are addicted to drugs, alcoholics, gambling, and all those things? Were you a gambler?
I was a gambler. The funniest thing that even after I stopped drug, I still had gambling issues. I could gamble with any money that came into my hand. The only thing I did was I never stole. But if you give me money to keep for you, I will gamble without money. So gambling was a major issue for me. It was my longest sort of addiction, because even before I started smoking, in that game house that we used to play, when they introduced me to smoking, we gambled in the game house. So I think I've been gambling since I was like 14.
Wow.
So, and one thing at the point I had to look at my life and I said, I've done this thing over time, over for a number of years, and what have I done for me? Have I bought house? The only thing that I've come out of it time after time is regret. Time after time, gambling, time after time was regret. I would always lose. If I eventually win 10,000 naira, I will lose 50,000 naira eventually. So why do I keep going back? And I looked at my life and I said, no, this has to be the end. This has to be the end for me. And by the grace of God, it has been God's grace so far. So what my advice for people in addiction is, the earlier you stop, the better for you. I want to take a quote from one of the clients I worked with recently, and he told me, he said, Mr. D, he said, do you know that the year you stop smoking, you go back to the age you were before you started smoking. I want to tell you and let that make sense to you. If you started smoking at the age of 19 and you stop smoking at the age of 29, you become a 19-year-old again. So the earlier for you to stop smoking, the better it is. Because if you don't stop early enough, you are losing more years. See, there's nothing for you to gain out of it. I'm talking from first-hand experience, speaking with people over time. I've seen people cry and regret doing this because a lot might have been achieved. I know personally, thank God I'm alive and I have a job, but I know where I would have been today if I never smoked. I know what my journey would have been. I was studying computer science as at 2012 while I was in school. I was the first person to learn how to write a program in my course among my course mates. And my mom had already spoken to this person that said, this boy is so good. He has a job in a company, one of the biggest companies in this country at the time. So imagine I have finished university. My story would have been different. So the only thing is, don't stop losing more years. You are losing years already. You are losing time. The earlier you stop, the better for you.
Thank you, Ifedayo. You're welcome, Rachel. How are you?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing well, sir.
Ifedayo, before I ask Rachel to ask you the next question, which of these drugs are mostly abused by teenagers and youth? Which of the drugs? And how can they be discouraged access? Can be discouraged to have access to such drugs? What can the government do, or maybe NAFDAC or drug enforcement agencies or government? What can they do? Which of the drugs?
So today, I think synthetic marijuana are still the more common type of drug. When I mean synthetic marijuana, I mean the Colorados, the skunk, the Canadian loud, Scottish loud, Ghana loud. Those are still the most common used. And they now go to codeine and the off-the-counter drugs. The issue is that government can only do as much as they can. Because every day you see news that they arrest somebody importing drug, they arrest a shipment of drug, but the more they arrest, the more comes in. So that's why it goes back to family. Because these days, I was telling a mother recently, she said, I used to check the WhatsApp. I said, man, you are deceiving yourself. This shouldn't be WhatsApp. These dogs are marketed on Snapchat. If you go on TikTok, there are people who go, you see somebody live on TikTok and telling them location where they can pick up market. You see somebody on Snapchat just sending messages to people on where they can get drugs. They are being advertised, they are being sold. Delivery. I remember a story from some years ago. A child, the parents suspected the child was taking drugs, and they were like, this child will not go out again, and everything. And the child was at home and was not going out. and this child had a birthday, and different gifts came to the dispatch rider. And one of the gifts that came in was a throw pillow. Normal throw pillow that they will put picture, happy birthday, so, and so. And unknowingly for the parents, the person that sent the throw pillow had put in drugs hidden inside the foam of the throw pillow. So the parents were not troubled. They're like, where is this boy getting? He has not been going out. He has not been doing anything. Somebody went to the house one day, there was a zip. The person just opened the zip and brought out the remaining drugs that was in that pillow. This particular they are well packaged. You see, they will sell the package. You can even ask, there's a package for you. Who ordered it? Your child will tell you, I'm the one, mommy. They just collect it and hand it over to the child. So it's not like they have to go out or walk far to get this drug. And the funniest is that even to get it in almost every location, especially in Lagos now, you won't walk 5 minutes before you see a place to buy drugs. That's the funniest thing. No matter how secure you think your estate is, no matter how secure you think it is, you won't walk 5 minutes before you get a place to buy drugs. So it is easily accessible. The government are clamping down, even though some of their agents are still going behind to resell the drugs to them. There's a lot of work to be done on the part of the government, but I, as a person, I believe, the government, the population is so large. I just told you a stat, over 14 million people as at 2016. We are looking at 28 million people as at today. If you look at it holistically, all we need to do is to work as families to deal with it, because one family stands alone. 10 family makes the society, makes a community. So if each family deals with issues in their family, your child continue to talk to them, have conversation. Don't start scaring them, because one of the things about these generations coming up, about the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha, is they are generations that question things. If you tell a child, in our days, they will tell the girls, while I was growing up in the 90s, they will tell a girl, if you go near a boy, you will get pregnant. But this day, if you tell a child of this day that if you go near a boy, she will get pregnant, she will ask you why. How? If you can't give an answer, that child will intentionally go near a boy and she will get pregnant. That child will now come back and tell mommy, I go near the boy, I was not pregnant. Then the child will go back again. And mother will say, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, don't sleep with the boy. Okay, don't sleep. The child will go back and sleep with the boy, because you are not talking, you are not communicating properly. Parents need to learn how to communicate to their children. They need to learn communication skills. They need to learn how to listen. Don't listen on the go. Don't listen on the go. A child is talking to you, you are pressing your phone. You are not paying attention to what that child is saying. The child is just there. The child will be bored at some point that will stop talking to you. What are your reactions when if your child comes home and tell you, Daddy, somebody gave me something sweet, I lick it and it was nice. Yeah, Jesus, what did you take you this child? You don't question things properly. Okay, what was it you took? How do you feel when you took it? Do you think it was good? You start lecturing this child properly. Don't raise false alarm, don't start screaming, don't work with that boy again. The moment when you tell a child don't work with that boy again, that's the person your child wants to work with. I'm telling you sincerely. That is the person your child will intentionally want to work with, because they are inquisitive. They want to know. They want to know why. They want to know the reason. They are a generation that seek knowledge, but knowledge they seek most times are the wrong knowledge. So we need to put them on the right path, allow them express themselves. Listen, because if issues are dealt with in the family, there will be none to deal with in the society. So family is basic in the fight against drug addiction. Thank you.
This question, and Rachel should come in immediately after. How do we make teenagers that keep to themselves? They are in their rooms. Most of the time, they are on their phones. They are on the internet. And while you are sleeping, they are up on the computer, on their phone. How do you now make them to talk to you? Even how do you know? What are the symptoms you see if they are on drugs?
Now, a child that used to be very cheerful, out and out going, starts withdrawing, pay attention, engage that child. If the child is always one that likes to be around the mom, always playful, growing up as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 14, and this child is always playful, always eager to be in the family gathering. And suddenly this child suddenly starts withdrawing, let me put it that way, starts staying alone, starts secluding himself. It could be different, it may not even be drug, but if it is not washed, it may lead to drug eventually, because you need to engage that child. Not come and sit down here, I don't want to see you in that room, come and sit down here. No, you engage the child. Sean, what is happening? You have to be staying in your room lately. What's up now? What do you think? You can even give this, but can even joke, is there again in your class? What are you talking? Engage these children. Try to know their mind. Even when they tell you, let me tell you one thing they do, teenagers do. And I've seen it firsthand, working with teenagers for a while. They test you with information and they want to see how you handle it. And imagine your son, sir, come home to you and tell you, I have a crush on this girl in my class. What would be your reaction?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't wait for my kids to come and meet me. I go to them jokingly.
Yeah.
We might just, when I'm with them, I say, what's the name of that your girlfriend? Me, I jokingly pass that message to them.
Those are the ways.
So they say that I don't have a girlfriend though. You understand? It's the conversation I believe should be happening between parents and their children regularly. No matter their age, even when they are 8, when they are 12, when they are 14, when they are 16. Because most of these things they know. We are the one pretending as if they don't know.
Exactly. Thank you, sir. Now, the student test parents with information. They give you small information and see how you handle it. They see how you would react. They want to see if you do well with that information. Immediately you fail in that first thing they test you with, you never get information from them again. They tell you, I have a crush. Then you say, crush, to your age, you have a crush. See, that child will never tell you anything about relationship again in this life. Nothing. You will not hear anything from that child again. So once they come to
you,
now
let me come in, Dio. What is the way out for the parents in handling this our kids? What are the way out?
See, pay attention, listen to them, be
conscious. Pay attention
to them, listen to them. Apart from listening to them, pay attention to the things that they do. Now, I spoke about the child that used to be active, that is withdrawing. There are children that are always calm and suddenly becomes hyperactive. Also, pay attention to that kind of child also. But you need to start looking and go to their school, ask questions, ask them about their friends. So this is your friend in class. How is he doing? What does he do? Why do you like this your friend? Why do you like moving with this your friend? Ask that, be patient, scold with love, scold, don't be aggressive. In as much that there's a need for you to scold them, you don't have to be aggressive with it. You understand? So when you are talking to them, handling them is important. You need to be conscious. You need to know when to be strong. You need to know when to be soft. You need to know when to say no, and you need to know when you allow them go on and let them see the effect of what they are doing. And one of the things I should tell parents is teach your children the law of cause and effect. And it is going to teach them, help them grow a lot. Let them know that there's an effect for what there's a in physics, there's a law of physics that says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So for everything you do, there's an effect. There's something that you will happen at the end. So once they know that once you do this, there's a repercussion. There's something that will happen at the end. It guides them. I give them why that thing will happen, because why is one of their major questions. Why? And that's why before you go to a conversation with your child, be ready, have an understanding of what you want to talk about. No, don't go ignorantly, because if you don't know why, because what they allow you to talk, once you finish, if you smoke, you will run mad though. You will run mad if you smoke. They ask you, so how? I used to see the video smoke on TV. The video has not run mad. I used to see Burna Boy smoke. Burna Boy has not run mad. I used to see Uncle Jamu, our neighbor. He comes out to smoke. He's not mad. So why do you tell me I will run mad?
Wow.
So have an understanding. These are the things they will tell you.
Yeah, Ife Dayo.
Yes, sir.
I want you to break it down for our audience that is not familiar with when we talk about abuse of substance or drug addiction. What are we really talking about?
Now, when you talk about abuse of substance, that's why before it was addressed as drugs for a while, but the UNODC some years back discovered that these things are beyond just drugs. There are a lot of things that people take these days that are not even drugs. We went to a school to speak one time, and the child told me they grind Nutrici, Nutrici, they grind Nutrici and they smoke it, and they sniff it. I mean, primary school children. So that's why we call it substance. So there are different categories of substance that are in use. We have depressants, we have hallucinogen, we have different type of drug, and these drugs fall into different categories. I've heard of people that inhale soccerways to get high, people that inhale pit latrine to get high, people that go to near the nozzle of the petrol station to get high on the petrol. These are serious levels of addiction in our society. So for every society all over the world, there are peculiarities with drugs that are common among them. But with our own society, we have more issues with marijuana and synthetic marijuanas. We have issues with over-the-counter drugs than cocaine, which is more common. Before, cocaine used to be a big man drug. These days, they have started reproducing, they are baking it, making it smaller. It is now called crack. You hear crack cocaine, and it is sold all around. You can get crack cocaine these days for as low as 3,000. Even though it is going to be for, that's why when a child comes, and this is what happens, once somebody smokes it, like takes a drag, a heat of crack, the person gets high and wants that highness and will do anything to get high. So that child goes back home, looks for the most post, takes the money, takes the phone. I'm currently dealing with an issue personally of a child who the child of a pastor went to the father's church. The guy taking crack cocaine went to the father's church during a service and packed the phone of the church members. Use it to go and give dealer so that dealer can give him something to smoke. So there are different type of drugs, and some people graduate from one level of drugs to the other. Start with cigarettes, go to marijuana, then marijuana start taking loud, take Arizona, after Arizona take Colorado. So by the time you start taking Colorado, you now go to crack, crystal meth, to get another level of highness, to get to another level that where your highness will be. So you continue to chase the highness on. So it's better not to start. Like I will tell people, the best way to cure, the best cure for drug is never start. Because some people tell you, I'm a user and I'm not an addict too. Yeah, because there are people who smoke and don't have issues with it. And they are still living their life, even though they are underlying health effects of drugs, which I hope if I'm able to address it today, there are underlying health effects of drugs on your health. It may not show now, but it will show in your old age. That is on the side. But there are other things that you need to consider. And because the truth is, there's a thin line between being a drug user and being a drug addict. A very thin line. Because it just takes an incident, something to happen. Imagine somebody that smokes casually before, just smokes casually before, and the person loses his job. The person moves from a user to an addict within a few seconds. And the boy don't be like this. Even though they smoke, he don't be like this. Now he don't talk to madman. It just takes something very little to move from it. So nobody is born an addict. There's nobody in this world. There's nobody that when was given birth as an addict. And nobody started taking drugs as an addict. Everybody started as a user and became an addict at some point. So there's a very thin line between being a user and being an addict.
Thank you, Ifedayo. What level of treatments are available for people struggling with addictions? Being a treatment officer now yourself, what are the level of treatment available?
there's different type of treatment available that people take out these days. People go to their medical facilities that they do replacement for them, they inject them, give them another thing to take. And I tell people most time it is not sustainable. It is not sustainable because if somebody is smoking and somebody comes to your facility and you are giving the person injection instead of the smoke so that the person can be calm. Once the person leaves that facility, the person still wants, because that injection is also doing something in the body. That means once they leave, no, it's not in their body again. They want to take something to continue having a kind of feeling, whatever feeling they're having. So most times, and there are also facilities that just keep people away. Maybe the person does not see drugs for a while, maybe for 3 months or 4 months. By the time the person comes out, the person will not smoke again. But what we will do, what I know to do is that once the person comes, I don't believe in injecting. I don't believe in keeping people away because eventually the people will still go back to the real world. But why you keep people away, deal with issues in their life. What are the issues? Why did this person start drugs? Why did this person stay taking drugs? So we look at those issues. When people call me to come and talk to their child, and this child is taking that, when I ask the child, okay, why? Why are you here? Let me share a story with you. 2 years ago, December 2 years ago, somebody called me and there's this person, the person is a pastor, the child is having drug issue in Ikorodu, and the person, okay, I said, okay, let me come and see the child. By the time I got there, I spoke to the parents, and the mother was crying and all. And the father said he has been in his room for weeks and he has not come out, that they dropped food by the entrance of the room. Because the father kept him there so that he would not embarrass the father, quote and unquote. And the boy just takes, sometimes does not even eat. He's just there. But the most funny thing, this child has not been out for 2 weeks. By the time I opened the door of his room to enter, I was met with smell of freshly smoked weed in that same room. That's the story for me. But where I'm going is, different people have gone there to just talk, I stopped smoking drugs. But when I asked him what the issue was, the story is this. The father has 3 sons. There are 3 boys in the house. He's the second child and was said to be the smartest one. His older brother, when the older brother finished secondary school, the brother was sent abroad for university. When he finished, he was sent to OAU. When the younger brother, while at the end of his first year, the younger brother finished, the younger brother was sent abroad. Are you seeing something play out here? Now, it was, they didn't even send him to a private university, they sent him to a federal university. And that's why the boy lost it. And the boy is very smart, but intentionally barely graduated with the 3rd class. So we started dealing with this issue. These are fundamental issues that led him to drugs. And if these issues are not dealt with, he felt he's less loved among the siblings. He felt the parents loved his brothers more than him. So when you are dealing with these issues and this as an issue, you need to look at the fundamentals, what had led the person. Because if you don't treat the fundamentals, the person will be back where he or she came from. So we need to deal with those issues fundamentally, or else we will not be doing anything. We'll just be deceiving ourselves.
Thank you so very much, Ifedayo. On the final note now, if you are to speak to the victim of this drug addiction, what will be your final parting word to them? They are listening to you now in every of our platforms. What will you say to them?
Let me
From
start
your
by saying
personal
that
experience.
the victim of drug addiction is not just the person taking the drug. Because when a drug addict has a problem, the whole family has a problem. Because a drug addict is a problem to his family. So the victim of drug addiction is not just the person, but the whole family. Because a child that is taking drugs will go home to go and steal his mother's phone to smoke, take his sell their TV, sell everything. I have a friend who told me the father left him. The father has multiple buildings, and he sold the building father asked him to stay. The house his father asked him to stay. He sold every single thing in that house: TV, generator, cooker, to smoke. The only reason he could not sell the house is that he didn't have the papers. So God is beyond the guide. But what I would say to people taking drug these days, like I said earlier, the earlier you stop, the better. You have a life, you have a future. Your life is not defined by what you have done, but what you will do. You can do better with your life than what you do today. You can do better with your life than what you are doing now. There is more for you to achieve if only you can take your life serious and start doing something meaningful this day.
Yeah, thank you, Fedayo.
Thank you, sir.
Now, on the final note, if you are to speak to the parents of a child that is struggling with drug addiction, what would be your word to the parents that they have children? What would be their steps and the way they should go about it?
The first thing I will tell you is don't give up. Don't give up on that child. Don't give up. See, the Bible says a tree, even when it is being cut down, he said at the scent of water, said it will sprout up again. Now, the boy just needs to scent water. And you can seek help for that child. There's help. They have different centers where you can take the child to. You just need to seek help. Don't give up on the child. There's no lost cause. I've seen people with very, very damaging stories, but they have come out to be better. Let me tell you one of those people that you know, popular in our society these days. There was a chief judge of a state in this country that had 2 sons. And the 2 sons fell into drug addiction. So bad that abroad in the US, where they were sent to school, they became vagabonds on the streets. One of those sons today is somebody we know as Pastor Paul Adefarasin of Us on the Rock. And his brother also owns his own church in Victoria Island. They are big. You can't look at them today and say, this person has smoked before. Will you look at people like that and say, so there's a story, there's hope for that child. Don't give up on that child. Don't. So there's hope. Continue. I know you have tried, you have put in the effort, you have done so much for that child, and you feel one more you are tired. Don't be tired. That child carries a destiny. My pastor wife tells me something. He said the devil attacks only where there is a treasure. The reason why the life of that child is under attack is because there is something for that child to do. There's a purpose, a big purpose for that child to achieve. And that's why the life of that child is being attacked. So don't give up on that child. That child carries a destiny. And you'll be very, very happy you never give up on that child. Seek help for the child. Thank you.
But before we go, NDLE. If you are to rate NDLE based on the work they are doing now, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, how will you rate them on the scale of 1 to 10?
This is set up. Okay, the truth is, since General Buba Marwa came in as the head of the organization, there have been improvements. Before he coming in, I would have rated them like 2. But for him, he has now started interfacing more with people in treatment. We are working on, there's a bill that is with people, there's a committee working on that deal to stop criminalizing.
Okay, I know there is a bill. What will you rate them? Because our time is, we want to close right now.
I'll rate, at this moment, I'll rate them
1 to 10.
I'll rate them 5.
5. Thank you, Ifedayo Oluwole, for coming to Impact 45 to talk about youth and drug addiction and the way out. I want to thank you once again for staying glued with us for the past 45 minutes on Impact 45. Until we come your way next month in June, the last Sunday in the month of June from 6:15 to 7 p.m. Continue to make impact. See you next time. Bye.